Hello there, kia ora. The December quarter consumer price index data is out and it's official. Inflation hasn't changed since September. And of course, that's reason to celebrate for this government who wants to once again take credit for things in all the wrong ways. Inflation saw rises in the costs on international travel, second-hand cars, and rent, with prices coming in lower for fruit and vegetables, a seasonal change, which isn't caused by the government. Although the attitude to climate change, that may mean warmer seasons for us all, so I guess cheaper vegetables in the future? Rents themselves are actually up 4.2% in the December quarter, and rates payments were up 12.2% for the same period. And the driver for that? Increased costs put onto councils by central government. I'm not the one saying that. Brian Cadigan, Mayor of Clutha District, a very, very national loving part of the country, was very clear when he said that the massive costs being felt by ratepayers was because of the way the national-led government had approached water infrastructure, demanding a return of costs to council books without a plan going forward after the last election. In Auckland, that was exacerbated by the removal of the regional fuel tax, which offset transport infrastructure costs to the tune of billions. That then had to be found by the council, while the government continued to refuse to give councils the tools to offset costs by allowing them new revenue streams. Now, it should be pointed out, in the interest of fairness, that Stats NZ have used the data on rental prices based on data sets from MBIE in October and November only, as there's a system upgrade going on in December to the bond lodgement system that they use for tracking rent prices, which means that the December data was delayed. So that's going to be incorporated into the next round. But that also means that that increase is based only on 2/3 of the information, which means that the increase is likely to either be constant or go up when that final data set gets put in. But it should also be noted that the same data sets show rent went up 6.9% under this current government in its first year in power, which is higher than any rent increases seen under the last government. In fact, it's the highest rent increase seen since 2003. But the cumulative impact of rental percentage increases means that the actual dollar value was higher for this last increase than the similar percentage value increase a few years ago. The change in second-hand car prices is also a really fascinating one. Changes in demand have stemmed from policy changes around electric vehicles. That clean car discount scheme that offered rebates on eligible vehicles, it included second-hand vehicles. But the cancellation of that by the current government has seen a shift in public demand for petrol vehicles, especially smaller cars with more efficient fuel usage. But the ute tax was bad, according to Groundswell, so it had to go, and they're clearly the experts who trust science. One of the areas as well where costs have decreased, though, is what we call domestic accommodation, which helps keep inflation down when it all balances out. These are the costs for hotels, motels, Airbnbs that are used by people traveling around the country. This has actually seen a 9% drop because our tourism market is down on expectations. Our dollar is so weak and it's not likely to get better while we're in the worst recession since the 90s, and New Zealanders don't have the funds to travel as much as the cost of living is still really high, and times are pretty tough economically, where record levels of unemployment and economic uncertainty make it less likely for people to travel domestically. So I guess the government could take credit for that if they really wanted to. So, how will the government make sure that inflation keeps going down, that our economy keeps growing? After all, we were promised downward pressure on rents and a laser focus on the costs of living. That's clearly happened, and this week the Prime Minister has been promising economic growth as their priority this year. And he clearly has a great track record on these promises. Well, apparently it's going to be through science and data-led decision-making and growth, because their support for small to medium-sized businesses last year netted these results. Well, the results in that field are really clear, with record business liquidations and closures and credit defaults for businesses up 16%. But I'm sure that science and tech focus is going to pan out brilliantly. It's not like the government would do something ridiculous like slash funding to the science and R&D areas around the country that they expect to rely on for this, while making sure that they listen to experts to guide their decisions instead of, their clearly based ideological choices that they make that they know are unpopular, like putting a Christian evangelical in charge of the health sector, where the Prime Minister has said he'd have to step in and stop the minister changing abortion laws in a situation that shouldn't even be a consideration to begin with. So, of course, we can totally trust them to keep looking after the economy with their laser focuses and to have a plan going forward that relies on science and data, because their track record quite clearly states that that's something they're really going to be great at. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.